All right, so on our journey toward servicing this saw, replacing the crank seals, we just took the flywheel off. Now we need to work on getting the clutch off of this saw. Let's have at it. First, I'm going to take this cover off. There's two covers. These covers have been off or replaced once already. A little bit of cleanup work has been done in the process. It was really dirty and gunky back here, or back behind these covers. And this work was done before we knew that there was a problem with the fuel filter. Just gently pry these off. They are plastic. Now, I don't know if you can see. Let me disengage the brake band. So I don't know if you can hear that. I'm moving this clutch. There's always a little bit of play in the clutch. Being that this is a 25-year-old clutch drum, there's a little bit too much play for my liking in the drum and the needle bearing. So I think those do need to be replaced. And we'll take off this E-clip. These go flying often, so you need to, once they start to come off, you need to get your hand in the way so they don't go flying and losing the E-clip. Of course, if you have mini saws and you service your saws routinely, you no doubt have quite a few of these spare ones in your field kit. Go. E-clip washer, brand new rim sprocket that was put on it. And I can tell right here there's a fair amount of play in that bearing, so it does seem like the bearing and the drum is probably worn out over time here, so they do need to be replaced. Continuing to run those the way they are going to end up causing some problems, end up breaking the crank bearings. Even the crankshaft can get worn. I'll know when I put a new one on here if there's a bunch of play. It's possible that the crankshaft may be too worn and need replacing as well. Then we're into a completely full rebuild on this saw. Oh, let's sure hope we don't have to go down that rat hole. All right, now we're going to need a piston stop. See what we're going to need here for I think a 19 is probably going to be too big. That might be right. 19 millimeter is what you need. See if we can do this by hand without the aid of an impact wrench. Remember, these are reverse threaded, so righty-loosey. Yeah, we're going to use an impact wrench. Another example where we need to use the right tool for the job, make it a little easier on us. Okay. So yeah, there's a lot of junk back in there. So the clutch is off. I'll take that washer off. A little bit of oil back there. So that would seem to suggest to me that either around the base of the oil oiler line, or possibly an oil ring in here, there's a little bit of a leak. So we'll end up having to replace that oiler line. Might as well take apart the whole oiler as well. There's a couple O-rings in there that could use replacing. Alright, so we're gonna pull off. Yeah, now see that how this ring here doesn't spin. It's not supposed to spin, so you want to just make sure that this is not loose around this worm gear. It's not. So that's probably reusable. Now it is a little wet back there by the oil seal, but again, I think that's just oil from the oiler. But it's time to replace that seal anyway, so we're definitely going to do that. Just trying to show you what's involved to get all the way down to the crank seals. Now I haven't found any specifications from Stihl on the clutch. Usually there's specifications on the bevel here, and from what I can tell, there's almost no wear left on this clutch, so that means we're into having to replace the clutch on this. Again, not surprising for a 25-year-old saw, I guess. And we got to get the brake band off. So what we're going to do with that is, there's a screw down here with a T, what would be a T27. We have to take this spring off as well. So that we will just do with a straight edge here. These can be on there pretty tight, so you do have to be careful. Might make it a little easier there doing it that way. Here we go. And then that pops out, so the spring is out. So now forget the name for this part of the brake band system, but you gotta take that out there and then pry this out. And you just have to gently pry the brake band up over these tabs. Once you got them free from enough of those tabs, it should be fairly easy to remove the rest of the brake band, just like that. And once you get the tension out, then it's easier to get the brake band off the end of this hook here. All right. So the next job is to actually remove the oiler. Which is retained, I believe, by just 2 bolts right there. We don't want to see, she's starting to come free here. So you just got to, this is a solid metal pipe right here, so you do not want to break that. You're just trying to break the seal here. And once that seal is off, so there's a little rubber piece here, and boy, that thing is completely hard, so needs to be replaced. At this point, the oiler needs to come up and backwards and is being held in place with the O-ring on the end of that metal oiler tube. I can definitely tell that the oiler is going to need to be serviced. All the rubber parts in it are just way too hard, and then there's an O-ring right here. So this is the actual feeder tube that'll feed up in here in oil, and there is the actual oiler tube. So it's a good thing that this happened, and we took the opportunity to actually forge ahead with further cleaning. Boy, all of this is a good portion of this gunk that's oil encrusted is just rock solid. So it's been here a while, and never been cleaned. It is definitely time for this. Actually, we're going to leave that in for right now because I got a lot of cleaning to do. I don't want stuff getting in there into the oil tank, because I'm, really hoping that we're not going to have to crank open the crankcase here. Now, one thing that I should point out is that looking at the seals here, and they're definitely in need of it, and I can feel with my finger that there's no pliability there. So they probably already started to fail, but if not, that was imminent. So at any rate, and notice how the seal here is actually fairly flush, maybe even a little bit higher than the crankcase. So there's no measurement that I have to take here. There's an arbor, a pressing sleeve that'll press in that that seal, and we will use that. And the same thing on this side. This is recessed, and the pressing sleeve or arbor for installing that oil seal has the recess built into it, so I really won't have to measure anything there. I'll probably measure that just to be safe, but it'll be pretty easy to just press those in when the time comes. But the other thing I should point out is there is this bushing here that you put on before you put the oiler on, and there, and you can't see it, but there is an O-ring in here that needs to be taken apart and needs to be put back in. If in fact there is, this is not, I don't see an oil seal or an O-ring, but on the generic service manual for this saw, it shows that there is supposed to be an O-ring there that you need to replace. And yeah, there is no O-ring, so that's one less part I have to worry about tracking down. And that sleeve basically is there to help install the oil seal. Usually it's there for a lip. Yeah, I can see that the way this is designed, that this bushing is going to have to go on before the oil seal goes on, and then the bushing is going to stay in place. Otherwise, you're potentially going to be wrecking the oil seal. So fortunately, I'm right now not seeing a lot of junk in behind where this bushing was, which is a good thing, because that means that the bearing should be in really good shape. I've already tested the crankshaft here, and there's absolutely no play whatsoever in the crankshaft. So I believe our lower end and our top end are in perfect, immaculate shape. So it's just a matter of getting things cleaned up and replacing a few of the miscellaneous bits around here. So at any rate, now I've showed you how to remove the whole clutch assembly, oiler assembly, and what's required to get down to the seal here, and then we'll have a different video using a Stihl seal puller to show you how those seals get pulled without damaging the crankshaft.